Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Maggie, and welcome to the M&M Debrief, the podcast where Mike and Maggie discuss the top stories in politics and sports and try to make sense of the headlines. Mike, do we have any follow-ups from the last episode?
Yeah, I got a few follow-ups. Last week, we were talking about how there was a 13% default rates, and one of the president's men was kind of laughing and saying he talked to the CEOs and everything was fine according to the rich CEOs. I
Yes,
forgot
the
the
rich
guy's.
CEOs are fine.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're doing fine.
just fine.
Anyway, I forgot the guy's name. It slipped my mind. It was Kevin Hassett, who I
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen him. He looks like a smiling goofball every time he's on TV. He's the director of National Economic Council, so Kevin Hassett.
Mhm.
And then I got a follow-up on the Melania Epstein connection. If you recall, her
Mhm.
good buddy Amanda Ungaro got deported because her husband is an asshole and deported his ex-wife to Brazil to get their son and stuff. So anyway, this woman is starting to give her opinions and not holding back and stuff. Anyway, she's claiming that Melania was basically an escort for Jeffrey Epstein
Wow.
until she got too old, and then she got given to Donald Trump. So
What a burn.
so
As your
that's
consolation prize.
yeah. So she had inside information. So we'll. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what she's saying. I would believe it, frankly, but,
Yeah.
I wasn't there. And then there's a woman named Melissa Casillas. She was one of the scientists I mentioned way back, about 10 or 12 missing or killed
Dying
scientists
in
dying or
mysterious
going,
circumstances.
yes,
Yeah.
or going missing. Well, they found one of them. Her name is Melissa Casillas. She's in New Mexico at I don't know exactly which laboratory is in New Mexico, but she had gone missing. Well, her body was found by another hiker out
Wow.
on the hiking trail, the National Forest, Carson National Forest in New
Mm.
Mexico. And she had a gunshot wound. So,
And it wasn't
so
self-inflicted, I'm guessing.
I don't think it was self-inflicted.
Mm.
So you want to Google, it's Melissa Casillas, Casia, 54 years old, good scientist. So not sure what the next step is for that, but she was found. Yeah, and then I also mentioned last week that NATO was starting to, or America was pushing NATO to put this DCA aircraft into more forward countries that are a little closer to Russia.
Mhm.
And I had mentioned that Poland and then the Baltic states would be a candidate because they bordered Russia. Well, for those geography majors out there, I'm afraid that Poland does not border Russia. Po-
Borders
Pol-
Ukraine, right?
Borders Ukraine to the north, but to Poland's east is Belarus, and then it's Russia. So Belarus is effectively Russia. They're just a puppet. But technically, well, actually, and then Lithuania is one of the Baltic states, and that doesn't really directly border Russia, except unless you count Kaliningrad, which is that little enclave that's kind of this little cubbyhole called Kaliningrad. It's actually
Mhm.
part. It's actually technically part of Russia. So Lithuania and Poland do border that, but they don't. They don't border Russia proper, I guess. So anyway, just wanted to get the geography right on that.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, since it's a extended ceasefire, all kinds of crap is happening all over the place. So I don't know if we can really call it the Iranian war anymore. It's more like the world strategy realignment, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's so there's so many breaks in those extended ceasefires that all kinds of crap is happening all over the place. So it's all started with the Iran war, but we're just gonna call it, world at war, world strategy, whatever you want, whatever, something like that. So. Anyway, it looks like Iran is building more underground bunkers. That's got to be, they're showing videotapes, video of a couple of deep underground bunkers. So they're starting to expand that. They got a lot of stuff underground. I don't know if that's where their labs and their guided missile sites are kind of underground. That's why we can't get to them. And they're building more, which would tell me that's not good news for us. The more they got, the worse it is for us. What they're going to use them for, obviously, probably either missiles or uranium enrichment lab facilities. So,
Mhm.
and speaking of nuclear, Iran signed a deal with Russia, $25 billion deal with Russia for extended nuclear capabilities, some sort of cooperation agreement Whereas Trump is telling Iran, you're never gonna have nuclear or anything, and Iran just said, well, fuck you. And we've been helping Ukraine against Russia and trying to get them sanctioned, and Russia basically said, fuck you. And we're gonna do this deal, and exactly the extent of it, if it's weaponry or just nuclear, maybe it's just nuclear reactors for energy. I don't know,
Okay.
but this is one
This
domino in the list.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the world moving on from America. One thing, one example of the world moving on without America. I got some other stuff with China, but yeah, so they're just moving
So
forward, and
right. So that's actually a very scary thing that you're saying that Iran is going to start obtaining nuclear arms potentially with Russia.
I'm starting to hear some scuttlebutt that they may actually be pretty damn close to actually having a nuclear arm with some assistance, probably from Russia,
From
about
Russia.
how to assemble it. And I've heard a couple guys I think I trust a couple guys on YouTube and stuff that are ex CIA analysts and stuff, and they got connections. And yeah, they may do a test. I'll do this. Don't be surprised. I don't want to make a prediction, but don't be surprised if in the coming months Iran does some sort of test to show everybody what they got. And they probably either they got some stuff from Russia, or they took their own stuff and refined it down with the help of Russia, and were able to put something together that they could show everybody. It's like, okay, we got something. Now
Right.
that changes everything. So I'm not gonna predict. I'm not gonna predict. I'm just starting to hear it, so I don't want to go full bore on it. But I'm gonna put this under. Don't be surprised.
Right.
It sure looks like the world is quickly moving on without us, which I'll let our listeners decide whether that's a good thing or not. Ukraine did reach out to Russia with a letter saying, "Hey man, we've been kicking each other in the balls for 4 years now. Maybe we ought to call it quits," something like that. So reached out the hand of peace, or whatever you want to call it. And I don't think Putin. I personally think Ukraine is winning and turning the tide, but
Right.
Putin did not respond to that. But he is doing all kinds of other deals. Definitely the China, Russia, Iran
Mhm.
axis is
Right.
definitely starting to take shape.
I heard that Russia replied saying, "Why do you wanna meet in person? We don't need to meet in person. Send me an email," basically, is what he
Mhm.
said, you know?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. The whole meeting in person might be kind of a thing of the past, since, well, I know that the Iranians really don't like to meet in person because they can't trust Israel not to try to assassinate them.
Right.
I don't know if it's the same deal with Ukraine and Putin and Russia, but yeah,
Right.
just a Zoom call would work, I guess, right?
Mhm, or work through their intermediaries, yeah.
Into their intermediaries, right, right. I mean, usually the top dogs just show up and sign something, and
Mhm.
all the negotiations been done in advance. But
Right.
I did see something, speaking of the economy. I know this is the war section, but I think the BRICS nations, which is there's an acronym BRIC,
Yes.
which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, and China. They call
Okay.
them the BRICS. I think they account for 40% of the world's GDP, compared to 29%, which is the G7 nations.
Mm.
I gotta double check that number, but it wouldn't surprise me a bit. So the BRICS are starting to flex their muscles. Let's see. Speaking of deals, looks like Pakistan is, since they're now becoming kind of a diplomatic powerhouse, I guess. They're starting to court Saudi Arabia for a new oil refinery on Pakistani land. Some called I don't know how to pronounce it. Gwadr, Gwadar Island. So
Mhm.
they're proposing a big oil refinery on Pakistani sovereign land. So whether that comes to anyway, this is the theme of the episode today. The world is moving on without us, and all these other countries are doing deals without us, which I don't blame them for. But and speaking of that, in the South China Sea, China and Vietnam and other countries, and maybe even the Philippines, they're starting to dredge out some of these islands and to try to create larger sovereign space, like, all the little tiny islands in the, Malaysia, Indonesia, all this stuff. And it's a big shipping channel. It's not as much of a bottleneck as the Strait of Hormuz is, but it can be a bottleneck if all these countries they start to go on these little podunk islands and then they just start dredging out and actually artificially expanding the island and then calling it, part of China, and then
Mhm.
they can take sovereign land and then they can take the 12-mile territorial waters for shipping and stuff. And so they're cranking it up, Vietnam's cranking it up. The South China Sea is let's see, east of Vietnam, south of China, southwest of Taiwan, north of the Philippines is the South China Sea. A lot of commerce goes through there, and they're all trying to take some little tiny island and make it bigger and try to claim some sovereignty over it for kind of like what's happening at the Strait of Hormuz. We could charge tolls and all this stuff, so.
Mhm.
And I got one. I should have put this under follow-ups. Sorry, but apparently the USS Gerald R. Ford, which is the aircraft carrier that we talked about a while ago, I was intoning that there was some sabotage and stuff. But anyway, and the government is saying that there was just a little minor fire and it's still operational. Well, apparently, I hate to break it to you, honey, but our government lied to us. Yeah,
No.
the Gerald Ford is in a big effing mess. The fire suppression they did have apparently it was actually a laundry fire, but it was the fire suppression system completely failed, which is supposed to be a state-of-the-art
That's the
fire suppression
problem.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely failed, and apparently they spent 30 hours trying to put this fire out with no actual fire suppression system.
Oh my god, that's what you really don't want to happen on a ship, right?
Yeah, yeah, I was never in the Navy, but my understanding is a fire on a ship
Is
is
not a good thing.
horrible. It's
Yes.
very, very bad. And then, also their plumbing completely failed and they got all kinds of sewage backed up,
Oh my
and
god.
yeah, so that guy's out of commission for a while. I mean, it's $13 billion. I'm sure it'll be back up at some point, but when they said it was operational, they lied. Sorry to break it to you, people out there.
Mhm.
Sorry. And I think that's all I got for the war for now.
Alright. Things are a little
Yeah,
quieter, I think.
yeah. I mean, they're all just sitting around, and I'm thinking this might be. Do you remember the scene in Caddyshack where they blew up where Bill Murray went in and blew up the whole golf course and everything was
Mhm.
like. Or no, the scene where he's helping the priest golf, and it's like the worst rainstorm in history, and the priest is golfing the best golf of his life, and then lightning strikes him at the end.
Right.
And then Bill Murray just sort of sets the golf clubs down and sort of slinks away quietly. Quietly. I think that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna slink away from Iran, and
One more
we're just gonna go.
that thing. Yeah.
What are you talking about, Iran? What's going on in Iran? I think we're just gonna sort of slink away.
Mm.
The sleepy Donnie's gonna fall asleep like he always does, and we're just gonna go on to Cuba after that. So,
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
so in the meantime, the rest of the world's just moving on. So.
Exactly.
All right. Speaking of moving on, Scott Pelley, revered journalist from 60 Minutes, got fired basically because he was acting like a reporter and
On his
asking his
job, head of
doing his
ethics, integrity.
yes, asking honest questions, speaking truth to power, talking to his boss about, hey, why are you firing all these world class producers and other journalists from arguably the most respected news show ever invented? And apparently, whoever that guy is, I forget his name, who's the new guy in charge of CBS, or I don't know.
Barry
No,
Weiss or
well, no, her boss, whoever that is, he didn't like that, so he just fired him.
yeah, he's some stooge for Trump. I mean, he's nothing. You know what I mean? He's not any kinda big.
Well, yeah, my understanding is he's fairly competent news producer, but not good enough to be in charge of 60 Minutes. No, he's
Yeah,
not
exactly. He's
not
not
quite a stooge. Definitely a Trumper, but not quite a stooge.
well, yeah, he is.
Well, a toady, lackey, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Scott Pelley's fired, and what's the over under on how long before he has a YouTube channel or a Substack?
Yeah, and I
I'm
think I think Pelly obviously knew exactly what was gonna happen anyway, and just said he's probably gonna go off and have his say on his
yeah
terms.
yeah he's pretty sharp, and he probably thought. Well, I could sit here and tough it out, or I could go out in the blaze of glory. He'll probably make twice as much money
Yeah,
on
he's
his own
fine.
channel.
He's
He'll be
totally
fine.
fine. He's made a lot.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He's not hurting.
All right. You were telling me about the Trump visited Wisconsin?
Yes, I know that we were worried about Mr. Trump, and it turns out, though, he did go to Wisconsin today to visit the farmers, and he's going to share his economic message. Well, the farmers in Wisconsin are family farmers. We're not talking corporate, corporations that manage these huge acreages. They're family farms that have the cows, and Wisconsin is known for its dairy as well as cheese, etc. The sad thing is that first of all, the farmers are huge supporters of Trump, but clearly these small farmers, family farms, are very, very disappointed in the past year of Trump between the tariffs and the cost of diesel to run their farms due to the Iranian war. It's like $6 a gallon. They said one farmer is paying $100 a day just for diesel and to manage his farm. And the rate of bankruptcies has gone up phenomenally. In 2025, there was a 46% jump in the number of bankruptcies for farmers over 2024. In 2026, there was 62 filings in a single month, and overall, it's on a trajectory to be 130% increase year over year, killing the farming community. So anyway, Trump is going out to Wisconsin to sit down and talk with these farmers and share his economic message about how great things are. So we'll follow up and see how that went.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to be one of these guys to live in a whole separate universe.
I know.
So we got impending monsters. Well, they're already paying high for the diesel, you said, right?
Yeah.
And I,
The
and then
fertilizer you've mentioned
fertilizer, and
before.
yeah, now let's. At what point am I gonna walk into the Jewel Osco and there ain't gonna be no bread there, or there's gonna be no
All right,
corn
or
I
it's
can get, or
$10
something?
a loaf. Yeah.
Yeah, $12 a loaf of bread, I'm trying to extrapolate out here exactly when the crap's gonna hit here. Yeah, and these guys will still vote for him.
I
I
know.
mean, I can't quite figure it out. I
I
mean,
agree with you there 100%. I don't get it. Even this farmer who was being interviewed said, "No, I kinda like him, but,
mhm.
it's just these tariffs, they're killing us and the Iran war," and
Yeah, well, this is a little sidebar here. I saw a guy on TikTok, some guy who lives in New York, but he actually was on a business trip to St. Louis. And he watched the baseball game, and then he decided to watch the local news. And it was just a half an hour of nothing but Republicans and maybe 2 seconds of a Democrat, and they were just showing, and at the end the guy was saying, no wonder these people in Missouri, in the heartland, and they just watch their local news,
Mhm.
and no wonder they hate Democrats, because the local news is just giving
That's all they hear.
95% Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, and then 2 seconds of Elizabeth Warren, and then it's just Ted Cruz responding. He's like, no wonder Democrats are hated by the Midwest. So, and the same thing with these farmers. By the way, I worked on a farm for a summer. It was one of the more transformative experiences of my life. So, and it actually pushed me into college, because
Mhm.
no effing way was I going to work on a
Hard
farm.
work.
It's damn hard work.
Yeah.
And then they just sit down and they want a beer, and they put on their local news, and at the end of it, all they see is, Democrats looking like jerks, and Republicans looking like smart people. So no wonder they hate Democrats. So even though the Democrats are very thoughtful and kind, well, anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
another
well,
deep dive maybe.
another deep dive, another deep dive episode. There were some House votes. I jotted
Yeah.
down just a couple of quick House votes.
Vote-A-Rama, I think they called it,
Vote.
honey.
Yeah, they actually voted to end the war and to give Ukraine some aid. I know. So which is, to anyway, to get something that went against the president's wishes is
Mhm.
in either house is astronomical, and that has to go to the Senate and get signed, and he'll veto it. So, I'm not sure what the point is, but uh, yeah, I've got reconciliation ice funding passed as well. Did I see that? And the slush fund is
Yeah,
coming
it
back to
was this
life. Am I
morning
seeing
or at
that?
5 in the morning or something, that Vote-A-Rama. They did
Yeah.
they did approve the 70 billion in funding for ICE. I don't know, I haven't heard if any of the conditions that the Democrats asked for, like not wearing masks and that kind of thing, was part of it. I just haven't heard anything about that. So I'll look into it. But yeah, it was passed. And also, the slush fund wasn't included because it was pulled by Trump and Todd Blanche, of the Department of Justice. And so that really allowed the reconciliation to pass because a lot of the Republicans said, well, I'm not voting for reconciliation and ICE unless if this slush fund is in there. So once it was removed, then it got passed. However, there was another vote that was up to ensure that the slush fund could never like a zombie come back to life in 6 months and be put forward again. That we should have legislation that says you can never do this ever again. But that failed because of the GOP. They didn't vote for it.
Yeah, I mean, his own party is starting to fight back,
Uh-huh.
ever so mildly.
A little side note here, honey.
Mhm.
Fetterman's acting very strangely. He's a Democrat who, when it comes down to it, he really votes more like a Republican, and people are watching him. He voted against an end to the war, which was interesting, and I think his, followers and constituents in, Pennsylvania will probably be a little upset with that.
Yeah, I think with Fetterman, it's one of 2 things or maybe 2 of 2 things. He had a stroke while he was running for office, and a lot of the people that are close to him are thinking that there was a before and after with this
Yeah.
stroke. And also, we've gone actually half an episode here without saying the I word. He had Israel, he's taking money from Israel.
He got a lot
He's
from AIPAC, you said, yeah.
got a lot from APAC, so probably one of those 2 things. He lost a lot of staff, I think we mentioned this a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
He's bleeding staff,
They've been
you
walking
know
out on him.
yeah, so what the voters of Pennsylvania think of him, I don't quite know, obviously, I don't live in Pennsylvania,
Well,
but
yeah, he's up for election in '28, so
we shall see. And we mentioned this. I'm hearing more stuff about Donald Trump's health. He was in Wisconsin today, but I think he was out of the booth. He was offline for a week. He went to Walter Reed last week, and he did not have any public events until I think today his first public event
first in a while.
in at least a week, if not 10 days, and just constantly falling asleep, just endless. Did you see the Marco Rubio was
Yes.
in front, and they said, "Have you ever?" It was a couple days ago, and one of
He
the
said,
Congress said,
"Yeah,
"Have you ever seen Donald Trump sleeping in a meeting?" And I've never seen Donald Trump sleeping in a meeting, and then they show video of Donald Trump sleeping like right next to Marco Rubio.
right." And I think the congressman who was asking the question said, "You just lied to Congress."
Yeah, yeah. Ted Lieu, he's great. I think I can get you for perjury on this one. You just lied to Congress because here's a video.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, so anyway, we've been talking about his health for a while. There'll be I think we're pretty close to some sort of life
Major
event
health
here,
event?
some major health event, I think.
Mm.
I'm gonna put that under don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if we get a major health event, sometime in the near future here. So, alright, anyway, speaking of major life events, we've got John Bolton. Depends on what side of the argument you're on, but, either respected or despised national security analyst, numerous administrations.
Uh,
Just pleaded guilty, felony count of retaining classified information. He got indicted along with Tisha James and a couple other people. Their indictment was bullshit, but apparently John Bolton's had some legs.
yeah. His
And
wife
apparent
and daughter were helping him with his book.
Right, exactly. So apparently he's extremely arrogant, which I believe is true, and kind of a dick.
Yeah.
So he joined the first Trump administration and just spent the whole time taking copious notes about what was going on, which he was going to put into his book. And apparently he wrote down some classified information, which he did share with his wife and daughter, who are helping him with the book. And bingo, that's illegal. And so he got a big
Oops.
fine, and he might be looking at some jail time, which
Right.
it could go either way on Bolton. Bolton's a 50-50 guy with me. Sometimes he
I think
sounds right.
a lot of people hate him, on both sides.
Mhm.
They don't like him a lot, but he does
But
have a lot of experience.
yeah, he's a neocon, and neocon is what got us into this mess with Iran. So, I don't know. He's pretty smart. So you think he'd be smart enough to know not to write down classified shit, but he was arrogant.
Yeah.
His arrogance overcame his
Yeah.
intelligence, so ego,
I
all
just
that.
find it interesting, though, that both Biden and Trump obviously had significant classified information in their possession, and
Yeah,
nothing
and
happened.
I haven't I don't know how to research this, but, did Obama, when he left office, did he take a truckload full of stuff and put in his garage? Or,
Well, that
W,
was
did
Biden.
George, but I'm just asking, how about other presidents? Did Obama do this? Did he take a bunch of stuff and throw it in his
I haven't
garage?
heard about Obama. I think
Did
every president, just because you're living with it,
Yeah.
it can accidentally, be retained. And
Mhm,
generally, it's like we know there was no harm intended.
mhm,
Nobody wrote a book. It was just an oversight. And if they work in good faith and they're apologetic and remorseful, I'm so sorry. Here, please, help yourselves. Come in here, look around, see if you can find anything else. If you comply with them and help them, then that's a different
mhm,
situation. But it's when you fight it or you obviously take it and sell it on the market in a book
mhm.
that has different consequences, I think.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do another. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if John Bolton does some time. I don't know if he's gonna
Yeah.
do the perp walk, but I think he's gonna do some time. So,
A little bit of time.
were there a couple other items on the Trump payback tour here, hon?
Yeah. You know, I just thought it was interesting. First of all, some other things that happened is that Todd Blanche will actually be put forward as the permanent attorney general. We all know or maybe remember Todd Blanche getting up and telling the press that he loves President Trump. He was President Trump's personal lawyer, and Trump brought him in to be deputy attorney general under Bondi, Pam Bondi. And Todd really is just the king of sycophants. And he just loves Trump and will do whatever Trump wants. He doesn't care about himself. He just focuses on Trump. So I did a quick look and he's been going after everybody. First of all, he cleaned house at the FBI. Literally, he said at CPAC, everybody at the FBI who was associated with any of the several lawsuits against Trump have been fired or resigned from the FBI. They're all gone. And that's what Todd Blanche did for Trump as a gift. He also is creating, it's amazing what he's doing. He's creating roadblocks to prevent the Dems from prosecuting Trump in the future after Trump is done. Now, that's something that's super interesting to me. As you know, the Supreme Court has said that the president has immunity while they're in office. But after they leave office, yeah, you can go after him as much as you want because he's a private citizen. So I think that's very interesting. He's making sure that those roadblocks are in place to prevent Trump and to protect him from any prosecution in the future. Also, he's gone after James Comey, Letitia James, John Brennan. We mentioned last week E. Jean Carroll, and also he did the slush fund for Trump most recently, and included that the IRS can never audit or go after not only Trump but his entire family in terms of their taxes, which is crazy. And then finally, of course, the pièce de résistance, the Epstein files, where Todd came out and basically said, "We're done. You're not getting any more files. It's over. Goodbye." And that's where we are right now. So, Todd Blanche, keep an eye on him because he will be our worst nightmare. He also has this obsession, I think, this kind of strange, embarrassing obsession, love relationship with Trump. And it's actually kind of scary. It's so over the top. The other thing that happened was Bill Pulte. There was a lot of pushback from the announcement that Bill Pulte, who's the acting director of national intelligence, even from Republicans. And it's actually written into the Constitution that the DNI has to have experience, which Pulte does not have at all. So, just in the last, 24 hours, Trump came out and said Pulte will not be made permanent. And of course, Trump can change his mind in a minute.
Yeah, going after the election is the next big thing.
Exactly.
Hey, I had just a last minute addition here to our domestic section. Did you see that? Looks like they had an idea at the Social Security Administration to artificially kill off about 2.5 million people. These are people that have a Social Security number, and they were going to go into the system and mark them as deceased. And so that way, when all their paychecks and stuff got effed up, they'd have to go into the Social Security office, and then the ICE was going to grab them.
God.
Have you heard that? I just saw that today. So,
Oh,
just the smarminess and the disgusting behavior that these people have no
they they have no souls.
souls. Yeah, yeah, true that. All right, I got one item on the foreign desk.
Oh, the foreign desk. You have a foreign desk, honey. I didn't know that. It's
We
great.
we have a foreign desk. I just started it. I'm hoping to get a travel budget. Does the M&M debrief have a travel budget? I would like to go to Albania. Apparently, our son-in-law in chief, Jared Kushner, and daughter-in-chief Ivanka are looking to build a multi-billion-dollar resort on a pristine island, Tirana, I think.
Mhm.
Tirana Island in Albania, which is like the Hawaii of Albania. The environmentally pristine place that everybody in Albania loves. And
Mhm.
they're trying to get in there and put up a multi-billion-dollar resort, and apparently the Albanians ain't happy about that. And the monstrous demonstrations. If you got video, you could get on YouTube for video of this. The Albanians are pissed about this, and we'll see if it ends up happening or if they can shut it down somehow. But just another example of the billion class, the Epstein class trying to get out of Dodge. And they can see the writing on the wall, and I think every one of these people, they want an escape route that's
Mhm.
not in America.
Well, apparently, I did see something about this today. And apparently, Ivanka was on a podcast and she was telling the person, and I don't know what show it is. I apologize. They're on the pod. There's a clip of her on the podcast talking about how they were out in the ocean there and they saw this beautiful island and they decided to jump in the water and they swam over to the island and they climbed up and hiked it and it was just so beautiful and really acting like they were the first ones to notice this pristine, clearly, the world had overlooked and they were going to invest in it and build this beautiful resort along the beach. And it's going to be great and blah, 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 blah. And it's always isn't that wonderful. Well, the truth is, she isn't the first one who ever discovered the island. It is actually a national reserve. They have pink flamingos there, but they also it's huge diversity in terms of the ecosystem there. And the last thing that the people want is to have some bloody billionaires and oligarchs coming in and turning it into the next, Trump Taj Mahal, Jeez. So
Yeah, yeah.
God
The
bless
great
God
the
bless
great
the Albanians for getting out on the streets. And it's not it's an overwhelming number of people that are coming out.
yeah,
They are not having any of this at all. And
yeah.
they have a prime minister, Eddie Rama, and
Mm-hmm.
apparently
Mm-hmm.
and he basically changed the laws in the country so that it would be legal to make this island national preserve a resort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it'll end up being like Orban, and eventually they're just gonna get sick of this and vote him out. Yeah, maybe he'll get the Orban treatment and they'll vote him out.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep. All right. Let's get on to the business report here. We got gas at 466. Huh? I this is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. They are just draining
Yeah.
that thing to keep prices down. That's going to come back to bite us. Maybe this is June
Hmm.
5th. I'm going to go another month and a half, and the crap's going to hit the fan here, unless something changes. Something could change. So, 10-year bonds are 4.47. That's inching toward 5%.
You
30-year,
mentioned the five was yeah,
yeah, and guess what? The 30-year bond yields are at 4.98.
as
So
close as you can get almost.
somebody's buying bonds. Somebody's buying bonds. We'll see who it is. Look, a note came out a couple days ago. The vice president of Exxon and the IEA, which is the International Energy Association, are warning that the petroleum reserves are becoming dangerously low all over the country, or all over the world, but in America as well, and they look to be depleted by the mid-July, which would start to pump up oil to about $150 a gallon, or a barrel rather. So
Hmm.
they're blowing down the strategic petroleum reserve to keep the gas prices low. But hey, we're running out here, so it's kind of a warning from Exxon. I think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get that in here before we move on to the next thing here. So,
Hmm.
all right. Yeah, there you go.
Do you also want to talk about the inflation and interest rate?
Oh, I thought I did.
Well, just that the consumer price index, inflation went up by 0.6% in April.
Starting to
And
push toward
so,
4%.
yeah, so the actual 12-month trailing inflation rate is now at 3.8%.
And then real wages are only going up by 3.4%. Hmm.
Yes. So do you think you know why people feel that the economy is kind of bad? Can someone please tell and explain to Trump this little mathematical, calculation?
I'm sure Scott Besson will have a good reason why that's good news.
Mhm. Now, the other thing though is because the job report was good and because inflation is high, now they're saying the Fed is going to start thinking about not cutting rates as Trump wants or even maintaining them, but
Hmm.
raising the interest rate
I'd be
to
stunned if that
cool
happened.
the
No.
market. And guess who's still the governor of the Fed? Who's actually in charge?
Yeah, Jerome Powell is still on the Fed
So
board.
even if
Yep.
Warsh goes in there and says, we need to lower the rates, the
Pretty
board
sure.
and Powell would be
Yep.
like, no.
Yeah, they're still listening to Jerome Powell. Yeah, he still holds sway over there for sure.
Yes. Yes.
I would just love it if after the new Fed board chairman came in and then they raised rates. That'd be friggin' hilarious. Which
It would be.
yeah, they're gonna have to. Or yields are going up. But so I don't know.
Right. Right. Cut. I'm done.
Anyway, I'm usually in charge of the business report, honey. I'm kind of surprised you're
I'm
kind of.
taking over, babe. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm on the foreign desk now, so you're taking you're taking over the business report. Okay, all
There
right,
you
fine.
go. Domestic.
Domestic and business. Okay, fine. All right. Well, there's a few things that kind of caught my eye. There are two left-wing podcasters, and if you're out there, if you're a right winger, you probably don't care about these guys. But Cenk Uygur, it was a huge left-wing guy on the Young Turks, and then Hassan Piker, who I think a lot of people have heard of, a big lefty
Mm,
anti-Zionist type guy. They've both been extremely critical of Israel and the Zionists, and they both have been banned from entry into the UK. And the Foreign Office in the UK specifically said it's because of their criticisms of Israel.
that is so.
So I'm not
I'm so
making this.
disappointed in the UK.
I'm not supposing that. They've actually said it. So, that might give you a clue as to kind of who's running it. Now, if these two guys were ripping the crap out of France or Japan or something, you think they would get banned from the UK for that? I don't think so. So I found this troubling in a democracy, a westernized democracy that's supposed to
Yeah.
enjoy free speech and stuff. So we'll see what if there's any ramifications or if anything changes. But
I think. I think we mentioned before too, I think America is an exception in that we regard free speech as you can say whatever the hell you want. I mean, you cannot shout fire in a crowded theater, right? And you can't incite violence and other things like that. But that is like the extreme. Otherwise, you can really say whatever you want and you're protected by free speech, unless you're in Minneapolis. But anyway,
It's
so, but
too
in the
cold to
UK,
talk. Too cold to talk there anyway.
right. But in other countries, who we see as democratic, they have a much more nuanced feeling about free speech.
I hate to break it to you, but the
Mm.
Israelis are they're snowflakes, I'm telling you. There's numerous videos of Jewish people standing around a Free Palestine march, and they're crying, going, Those people want to kill us."
Right, right. Separate out.
This is their playbook. Any criticism of Israel or the Jewish community is
Yeah.
anti-Semitism. So, well, I guess, yeah, in any criticism of Israel, I guess.
See, yeah. So that has to change. Two wrongs don't make a right. However, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, they've definitely, obviously, the Holocaust. I mean, they had the Jewish community had all the goodwill in the world.
Totally.
Schindler's List, you name it. And now where are we here? Like
They're the
60,
worst of
70,
the worst.
70%
Even
of the
Trump,
world hates you. And
even Trump yelled. He was reported to have yelled at Bibi Netanyahu and said, "Everybody hates you now. Why?
yeah, I
Because
don't.
you're awful. You're violent. You're cruel. You're brutal." Even the president of Israel came out. And even though it was very unpopular for him to say it, he said, "We need to stop being so brutal. We need to start, lowering the level of violence here in Israel conducted by Israeli people."
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Alright, and then, I saw something that Elon Musk took a hard turn to the right about, 2, 3 years ago, I think, he did actually attribute it to he had a son who gender transitioned into a daughter, and apparently it affected him deeply, and that was, kinda the cause of his hard right turn politically, so at least he admitted it. A lot of people speculated about it. So, I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent or whatever.
It
It's
just
just a
sounds stupid to me.
reason. So,
Even Dick Cheney changed his thoughts when his daughter, came out as being gay,
well, I mean,
lesbian.
I don't know, being transgender triggers something else besides being gay. I think a lot of the people think differently about homosexuality versus transgender stuff. It's a lot of people freak out about the transgender stuff and are just kind of annoyed by homosexuality. Little different deal there, but
Well, what I'm saying, it's his child,
yeah, your own
right? And when
child.
it's your
You think
child,
you think
you see past that,
you
you
would
know?
hope you would hope.
Well,
Yeah.
so Dick
So
Cheney is a better man.
go figure. Looks like Hunter Biden. If you're on social media at all, Hunter Biden's coming back. He's making a huge comeback. He's coming back strong and just ripping it up on Twitter and probably other social media. Just not taking any shit and just actively engaging with everybody about his past and how he got vilified unfairly, I think. And he's taking no prisoners. So
Mm,
Hunter Biden and the Biden comeback tour here with Hunter Biden. So I don't know if anything's gonna come of it, but he's come out of his shell. He's woken up. He's large and in charge now on social media and not taking any crap from anybody about
good
what's
for him.
happened. So we'll
Apparently, he
see.
had a great, podcast episode with Candace Owens.
Yeah, yeah, go
Didn't
figure.
she
That
apologize to him?
I think she did. Did she?
She did. She said apparently what she said was, "I used to think of you or see you as a caricature instead of an actual person," so she apologized.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that I'm the
A little
people that
too late.
I'm now yeah, really, it's kind of too late. She used him for her purposes, and now
Right.
she'll use the next people for their purposes. So,
Exactly.
and the last thing I got is Peter. Speaking of billionaires bugging out, Peter Thiel, the founder of Palantir and the mentor of JD Vance, is now moved to Argentina. So,
Will
which
he
is
take
run by
JD with him? Okay.
maybe he'll take JD Vance with him, and JD Vance can be the next president of Argentina.
There you go.
So the billionaires are bugging out. You're gonna see Zuckerberg and well, I'm sure Zuckerberg and Bezos and these and obviously Musk. They got homes all over the world. What is it? Alex Korn, I think the guy from Palantir. They got homes all over the place. So
Wow.
they've done their damage in America and they're moving on to the next thing. So they can see the
Same with
writing on the wall.
Ivanka and Jared, right?
Ivanka and Jared, they're all getting the hell out of Dodge because the peasants are got the pitchforks. So we'll see, we'll see.
Well,
But
it's gonna take
anyway,
them a little while to build a castle on that island in Albania, so
I don't
might as
think
well
that
move now.
I'm gonna go. Don't be surprised if that don't happen. That's another one of my guesses. So
Cool.
anyway, that's all I got. Mm.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today. As always, please follow, subscribe, or share. We're on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.
Thank you for listening to episode 17.
Yeah.
Yep, all right,
17.
17. All
Bye.
right.
Bye.